Whether you're working for yourself or you're working for someone else or you're simply someone who's at home right now, making a name for yourself is crucial in the world that we live in today. And my expert here is Jill Lublin. She's a best-selling author, and she's here to give us some strategies to get noticed and to build that life that we want to be living. Jill, thanks for being here.
It's a delight. You know, really about getting noticed, the truth is when you walk out your door, guess what you're doing? Publicity. The truth is everyone does publicity. To get conscious about it and do it with intention and purpose makes a big difference in your life and in your business.
You know, we hear the word publicity, but I know that there are people out there watching who don't even really know what publicity means.
Well, it's a good question. And unfortunately, or fortunately, there's been a lot of mystery around this word of publicity. So I'm into demystifying it and making it simple. The truth about what publicity is that it's building your reputation. It gets you more credibility and more visibility in the marketplace. It drives more referrals to your business and makes you more money. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to make more money, right? What I notice about the consistent and persistent use of publicity is that you're able to drive your reputation, your name, and get your project, whatever it is you're working on. It could be your soccer team at your son's school. It could be a business project. It could be a church project. I think publicity is so useful in all aspects of life.
You mention the word reputation. And honestly, everyone has a reputation, positive or negative. What's the role of publicity in determining that reputation?
Well, publicity is everything in determining your reputation. Let's look at celebrities. My gosh, they suffer when their reputation gets ruined. And all of a sudden, you know, the press is beating them up. Or look at the royal family when the wedding happened and how much publicity that consumed. The truth is our whole lives are run by media. So let's have the media game work for you so that it consistently puts out the message that matters to you. And I think that's really important.
I agree with you. And when we think about messages, what kinds of messages are we sending out all the time?
Well, you're sending out a message no matter what. So let's control the message, shall we? I mean, let's make it so that who you are is consistent with what you believe in, that's authentic to your purpose, that's appropriate to your life and your business. So to me, whether you're a mom, whether you're a father, whether you're a business person, whether you're active in your community, which of course that's important because your community needs to know about you, that you want to have a focused message that is appropriate. I'm just so big on message matters, message matters. And so my question always is what's your message? What's your message? It's really good to think about and to be authentic with so that it carries through in your business and personal life.
Jill, if we don't know what our message is, where do we get started?
Well, you know, first of all, working with experts. I mean, I'm an expert who helps people with their message. And what I've been graced to be able to do is know the story of somebody, like pull it out. Because sometimes you have to pull out your story. We don't even know how brilliant we are.
Right? It's like, what did I even do? You know,
Exactly.
We've done magical and wonderful things, but we just don't take the credit. So then it's hard to create a message around that.
That's right. I mean, I had a stockbroker. He's a commercial lender also, and he's been blind since the age of 7. Do you know he never talked to people about that because they were usually on the phone? So he wouldn't include it in his story until he met me. And I'm like, guess what, Don? That is the most brilliant, beautiful part of your story, how accomplished you are, what you've been able to create in your life. And since nobody met him live, they usually didn't know. So what we did was we switched his story to introing who Don is by the fact that he's been blind since the age of 7. Do you know that through my specific coaching with him, he got in the Financial Times, one of the biggest money magazines in the world. And he was so excited I could almost hear him jumping through the phone. He said, Jill, the reporter said to me that the reason she included my story, it was a great story about how to make money in today's economy, but really the reason she included my story is because I've been blind since the age of 7. It distinguished him. So one thing I'm really big about is what I call use everything you've got. Use everything you've got.
Well, you raise such an interesting point because we've all had our life challenges. We've had obstacles that we've had to overcome. Our lives have been a laboratory. So we need to pull that out and express that in a way that allows people to connect with us. And I think about a lot of authors, you know, they've written books on different topics, but oftentimes it's when we hear more about who the author is behind the book, that's when we get excited about that book. So whether it's a book or a product, that identity can be so important in turning more heads in our direction.
Yeah, I mean, what's your real story? That's the question. And using your story, like the woman I worked with who's a coach who had a stroke after 30 years of marriage and her husband left her. I mean, it's not the kind of story you want, and yet it's the story that has made people feel closer to her. It's the story that had her become a spokesperson for American Stroke Association. It's the story that got her out in the public with a message that for her changed her life. And I think the average person, you know, let's face it, we're all just out there doing what we do every day. We don't even, in a way, see our greatness, our real stories, the things that make us so powerful, vulnerable, heartfelt, and authentic. And that's where your story lies.
So when you're talking about being vulnerable inside our message, there's a lot of things that happen to us that we're embarrassed of or ashamed of or that we perceive as a weakness. Are you saying we need to bring those forward?
I am saying.
Come out of the closet, right?
That's right. You need to bring it forward and talk about the tough stuff. Talk about, if you're a financial planner, that you went broke 10 years ago and you overcame it, and here's why. If you're a health person, how maybe you were out of shape and weren't eating right.
Or you had cancer.
Yes. I mean, I can relate to a person like that better. You know, I will ask a financial planner, are you rich? I mean, you want to know the people who are going to teach you, who are out there, that you can count on them and that you can trust them. And I find in this marketplace and in these days that the inside out message, like who are you from the inside out, is what matters more than before perhaps. And that people want to feel you and touch you, and especially with all the social media and the way that you can find out so much about anybody, that let's just put it all out there to begin with and be real. And then lead into the story that you want, because the truth is, you control your message. So you have to make sure that you control, and I put that in quotes, what it is that you want out there, but that you're getting what I like to call your ooh, ah factor. You like that? Do I have to spell it?
I do like that. No. But you do want that, because I remember being a reporter, you know, for more than a decade, and there were certain stories that I would cover that just linger. Now, I don't remember the name of the person, but the circumstances, they're still there. They're inside my DNA or my psyche, my emotional DNA. I remember the stories. And that if we want to be memorable and we want to make a connection, these stories are powerful connection points.
Well, you said it right there, and that is, it's all about the story.
Right.
It's all about the story. So the story is finding what's powerful and precious about your story, and then moving it forward with a put together, because you need to put it together, message that moves you into the marketplace to drive your credibility, to make you top choice in your industry. And that's what I want for people, to become top choice in their industry.
So I understand you've written several books, best-selling books. Tell me a little bit about your books.
Oh, thank you. Well, Get Noticed, Get Referrals, for instance, that's really about focusing on how to drive referrals for your business and get noticed in the marketplace. It ties into publicity. You know, really what I'm about is helping people become influential, driving referrals, being top choice in your industry. And then my other book, Guerrilla Publicity, is really one of these, what we call using time and imagination to create more name recognition so that more people know about you without spending a fortune. Because the truth in today's marketplace is that you can do your own publicity with simple, easy steps and replicatable systems that will get your word out and get people talking about you.
You know, it's interesting, I think especially inside this book, you talk a lot about referrals. And I know myself as a coach, and I'm sure you notice this as well, that there's no client as wonderful as a client that comes through referral.
Yes, and it's all about referral because they already love you and know you. It's like yours talk about story, right? They are already connected to you. And I think the connection factor is really important in today's marketplace, and that getting referrals is about driving people to repeat your name. Oh, you got to check out Kristen's TV show, and you know,
Right.
you got to go to Joel's publicity crash course, and oh, my friend so-and-so does great, fill in the blank. So it's getting people to refer you. I mean, the truth is your doctor, your dentist, these are often referral people. The people that are closest to us that we work with in business and in life that we want our families to go to, they are often referred.
Inside your book, Guerrilla Publicity, could you just give us a peek inside and one or two strategies that our viewers can use right now?
Absolutely. Well, how about the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome? And what that means is really creating a 4-sentence announcement. Simple. This is not a press release. That's more complicated. We do that more in my publicity course. But really a 4-sentence announcement which is simple and announces, let's say you took a board position lately. Let's say that you recently developed a new program, whether it's a new service. These are things you can announce in your local business journal. And that, Kristen, creates what I like to refer to as the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. Very powerful, great strategy, and an ongoing system that you can use, I would tell you, every 60 days. So that's a great one. The ooh-ah factor, let's just go a little deeper on that because I love that one. And what that's about is using the story, like how we started. What is it in your life? What is it in your own personal makeup? What is it in your story? Like you said, there are stories that linger. You want to touch people in the heart and the gut. So let's get them there and let's get them fast because that's what will draw people in to you, to your business, and that you can move forward with to do more business and make more money.
So Jill, tell me a little bit about your background in your life.
Oh gosh, so many things. Well, one thing that happened to me which was interesting, and I've been doing publicity and helping thousands of people for, gosh, more than 24 years, and I love it. And I'm passionate about it. I do consider myself a messenger of messengers. And so for me, that was an evolution. I started in the music business, and I actually was director of promotion and publicity at an independent record label where we had no budget. And I would go to these conferences with my colleagues who would have $1 million promotion budgets. Well, you know, heck, give me $2 million and I can make anyone famous, right? That's easy. But I had to learn to do publicity for my recording artists, what I called guerrilla publicity way. That's where this was born. And then I really worked with a lot of creatives and small business owners, speakers and authors and coaches, and have really developed a publicity crash course, an affordable way that people can get their publicity done. I owned a PR agency for many years, for 7 years, and I love that. And then once Guerrilla Publicity got written and I started writing other books, Get Noticed, Get Referrals, and I was on major publishing houses like McGraw-Hill, I realized that I wanted to take my own knowledge and make it affordable for all kinds of business owners. So that's really been my thrust. And then in the meanwhile, right before Get Noticed, Get Referrals came out on McGraw-Hill, here's what happened. I had an accident. And I fractured both ankles in multiple places. Now, I have to tell you.
That'll set you back.
Yeah, hello. I ended up in a wheelchair for 5 months. And I thought to myself, what's the message in this, right? And, you know, I'm always helping everyone with their messages. So for me, my message was to spread more positive news, that I feel really strongly that our world needs positive news. So when I'm working with people, I'm always looking for what's the story under the story, what's the good news? And then I started creating my own TV show called Messages of Hope, and now I'm doing another one called Back to Business with Heart, because I think it's time that we get back to business. I think it's time that we do it with heart. And to me, the new currency is the currency of kindness.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, that's why we have this show here. The ripple effect is that there is a lot of negativity out there in the media today, that there is a lot of attention that focuses on things that are unfortunate, that happen to people. And I believe, it sounds like you do as well, that there is an opportunity for transformation on television. And that's not a combination that we've heard that much of. So thank you so much for having that mission. You know, it's interesting when you talk about your story and how you were using guerrilla marketing, it makes me realize that some of us are already an expert in our life's purpose. We just haven't quite connected to what that expertise is. So as a powerful messenger, thank you so much for being someone who guides people to that point.
Oh, you're welcome. And it's fun. And, you know, here's the truth. In our background, there are things that have happened. You know, when I'm speaking, I'll talk about my mom's story, who was a gambling addict and losing everything. She lost all her resources.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, it's not a pretty story. It's not something I used to tell, and now I'm starting to tell different aspects of that, to do some different teaching in that area. And what I find is that as we look in our wells of our own stories, it's not all pretty, it doesn't all sound good, and yet it's interesting because it's going to touch one person out there with their story. My sister's multiple sclerosis, how she deals with that and having the strength every day to continue with her raising her daughter and being a great, you know, human being and out in the world. And she loves shopping. Oh, well.
Who doesn't like shopping?
Yeah, who doesn't like shopping? But, you know, that's her story, right? But I, as a family member, coming from a certain environment in my family, coming from dysfunctional family. I mean, I always laugh because, you know, I always say to people, so who comes from a functional family? Anyone I know? You know, just playing with that a little bit and being real about what is. And then also going back, controlling your message. What is it that you need? And again, I bring us to celebrities who fall off the wagon, who make fools of themselves, who are bad boys or bad girls, you know, and they're out there doing things and you're like, what is up with you?
But what about that saying that all publicity is good for you? Do you really buy into that?
I agree that being in the news, no matter what you're using, is beautiful. And why do I say that? Because who controls your message? You do.
Right.
So here's the truth. Even though it may be about something that was bad or not so good, the reality is that you can use publicity to drive more name recognition and create what I like to refer to as the "I've heard of you somewhere" syndrome. You know, here's another story about me. I am a volunteer, and I have a senior, it's in a senior companion volunteer program. Well, I go to her home once, well, it's supposed to be once a week, an hour a week. Well, she became my best friend, the mom I never had, the grandma I never had, you know, just an incredible cook. She loved to cook. And we had this beautiful relationship. And one day, because I know about publicity, I was looking through queries from Women's Day, a great national publication, and I see something looking for what they called acts of kindness. Well, I thought, you know, my dear friend Camille, who's 85 when she died and 80 when I met her. So I was with her for 5 years as a volunteer, having nothing to do with what I do every day, but yet having everything to do with who I am as a person. And I would take care of her and I would support her and I would get her medicines and take her for rides and we'd go to movies and plays together. And you know, I sent in something about us, and by golly, we were one of 3 pairs picked to be featured in a holiday story for acts of kindness. Well, let me just say to you, what does this have to do with teaching my publicity courses or consulting or any of my books? Nothing. But here's what I love. It drives name recognition.
Right.
And you know what else? They put my website into the article, and it drove hits on my website. And most importantly for me, it was one of my heartfelt stories because it is about who I am. So let's, and this is an important point, use everything you've got. Use everything you've got. And that's who you are as a person, your volunteer work, your extracurricular activities, your being a mom or a leader in the community. It's all important, and sometimes you will get into media that way, and that's what will drive your name recognition and your story. And you know what? It's all good. It's all good.
Jill Lublin, thank you so much for being here with us. Now, where can we find out more about you? Where's your website?
Yes, thank you. It's publicitycrashcourse.com/free gift. And you can check out that and get a free gift for your publicity and real tips that you can use right now.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.